Well, Judy, for the moment, they're going to stay behind bars. You know, this really sounds like something out of a movie. Secret phone calls, undercover agents trying to bribe off a judge, but federal agents claim that's exactly what happened. This is really just the newest twist in this zetas money laundering case.
At 5:31, rotor noise rolls across the bay at Cartagena. 4 UH-60S hold altitude at 200 feet, running lights off. Speed locked at 80 knots. Below them, the city grid flickers between blackout sectors and sodium glare. The command net hums with low band interference. Every team is counting down to the same 0 point. Simultaneous arrests in 4 countries. On the primary monitor at Joint Operations Command in Washington, feed delay runs 6 seconds long. Nobody calls it a fault. The floor clock keeps flashing green. By 5:34, the Panama City Assault Group, Task Force Coral, turns off Avenida Balboa and splits. 12 operators from HRT South stack behind an armored Suburban marked judicial transport. Their target is Magistrate Raul Espinosa, 59, believed to be the central broker between the Gulf Cartel's Finance Division and 3 federal courts. The plan is entry through a side gate at exactly 5:36. One operator watches a heartbeat monitor on his wrist. Another adjusts the body cam lens. Overhead, a MQ-9 holds orbit at 7,000 feet. The feed freezes for 2 seconds, then returns. In Veracruz, 5:35, a second team moves under streetlight flicker toward a walled compound 1 block from the naval pier. They advance at a measured pace, 2 meters per second, thermal sensors picking up body heat from dogs behind the gate. The team leader checks the countdown synced from Washington. 20 seconds to go. The door charges are set at waist height. A light breeze pushes smoke from the nearby refinery toward the street. Through the static, the operator hears execute, but not the origin. He signals anyway. At impact, the gate folds. Inside, 3 silhouettes move, hands up, unaware that all 12 arrests are supposed to occur right now across the hemisphere. The Washington Command Center displays 12 feeds tiled across 4 walls. An overhead clock blinks 053600. The operations director confirms synchronized breach. Technicians record confirmation tones from Florida, Panama, and Veracruz. The 4th region, Santiago, shows no signal. Data loss is logged as temporary. A comms analyst notes packet delay, consistent with cloud cover, 10 milliseconds too long to raise concern. The arrests proceed. Operators move through bedrooms, hallways, kitchens. Flashbangs detonate at sound levels above 150 decibels. Detainees are zip-tied and photographed against walls. By 0541, all locations report secured. At 6:10, digital seizure commands issue from the Treasury's FinTrack unit in Arlington. 8 analysts monitor cascading lock orders across 4,000 accounts in 31 banks. The system displays a rolling progress bar, 72% complete. Transaction latency averages 1.3 seconds per node. The air in the room smells of ozone from cooled processors. One operator notes that Panama returns no response codes. The lead analyst assumes the server there has queued updates. She logs the anomaly and moves on. In Washington, commanders interpret silence as confirmation. Meanwhile, in Cartagena, the detainees sit in 2 armored buses facing the port. Steam from their breath fogs the glass. The local tactical commander checks time, 6:12. A liaison from DEA Colombia hands him a phone showing live transaction feeds. Red bars flicker across accounts, labeled frozen. The commander nods, convinced the finance wing is crippled. Behind the port fence, cranes continue loading containers onto the bulk carrier Santa Lucia. No one has realized that the ship's manifest includes 3 sealed containers purchased through a holding company linked to Espinosa only hours earlier. At 6:17, the first disconnect alarms sound in the Treasury operations room. Panama City's node reports 0 hits. The system reads this as no matching accounts, not as system failure. The lead analyst recalibrates search parameters by 1 decimal place and reruns, still 0. She logs no correlation. A junior analyst points out that Veracruz returns duplicate freeze codes, time-stamped before the command was sent. The clock discrepancy is 9 minutes. They assume a synchronization error in the satellite uplink. The team lead authorizes continued freeze operations. Above them, the status board shows Operation Coral, 93% completion. At 6:22, FBI Field Command, Miami, transmits the preliminary success bulletin. 28 judicial officers detained, 0 casualties, full digital seizure. The broadcast hits agency networks within 60 seconds. Local channels begin receiving partial leaks. Reporters set up live positions outside federal courthouses. Inside the command centers, teams decompress. Operators clean weapons, remove batteries, check each other's gear. The MQ-9, circling Cartagena, lowers altitude to 4,000 feet for imaging. Its thermal camera records faint heat signatures on the harbor road. Vehicles leaving the port perimeter at 60 miles per hour. The feed reaches Washington 8 minutes late. At 6:30, operators in Panama transport Espinosa under heavy guard to the airport. Speed on the convoy, 40 kilometers per hour. Ahead, a traffic light malfunctions, holding red for 90 seconds. In those 90 seconds, a data packet from an offshore account in the Cayman Islands moves through a private relay, authorizing transfer of $46 million to numbered accounts in Singapore. The transfer uses digital certificates signed by Espinosa's biometric token, captured by the cartel 12 hours before his arrest. No one in the convoy or in Washington is aware this has occurred. By 6:35, Treasury analysts notice account totals stabilizing at far less than expected. Total freeze value sits at $900 million, short by nearly $2 billion. The director orders a network audit. Command interprets the shortfall as a reporting lag from local banks. An internal memo marks review by 0900. Operators in the field never receive this update. They believe the operation has achieved full disruption. At 6:41, in Veracruz, the last detainee, Judge Nunes, is loaded into an armored vehicle. Distance to airfield, 7 kilometers. Local police clear the route. An observer drone hovers at 200 meters, capturing convoy movement at 40 miles per hour. From its feed, analysts in Washington watch the vehicles pass beneath power lines and disappear into fog. The live signal pauses, restarts, and shows the same frame twice. Commanders assume a buffer error. The drone operator tries to correct by adjusting antenna azimuth 3 degrees east. The transmission resumes with normal parameters. Nobody checks the embedded timestamp, which now runs 4 minutes ahead of real time. At 7 o'clock, all 4 command centers initiate after-action review. On large projection screens, synchronized footage from Panama, Veracruz, Florida, and Santiago plays at half speed. Audio logs match within a few seconds. The room is quiet except for keyboards and the distant hum of server fans. Supervisors tally success metrics, detainees secured, evidence collected, assets seized. A report from the Financial Tasking Unit arrives, showing 92% completion. Command signs off on preliminary victory statements. The global feed will go public at 1000. At 7:12, an analyst running cross-border confirmation notices negative time drift on 3 encrypted financial transfers. Each transaction appears to have been authorized before the arrests occurred. The offset is approximately 8 minutes. She flags it as impossible under synchronized conditions. Her supervisor attributes it to clock calibration variance between jurisdictions. They file it under data reconciliation pending. On the wall, the mission summary remains bright green. By 7:25, field teams in Panama begin evidence cataloging. Laptops, cash bundles, and 10 external drives are stacked on folding tables inside a warehouse hangar. Air temperature, 27 degrees Celsius, humidity at 70%. A technician scans one drive and sees an incomplete ledger of judicial payments, each entry dated and marked by initials. The last line reads, "Transfer complete, backup initiated." He highlights it for later review. No one realizes that the backup destination refers to a server inside the judicial oversight body itself. At 7:40, Treasury's data system locks down automatically after detecting duplicate transaction IDS. The lockout halts further forensic access. In Arlington, operators stare at frozen screens. The director orders a reboot sequence lasting 12 minutes. During those 12 minutes, 4 cargo jets depart secondary airports in Belize, Guatemala, and the Dominican Republic, each carrying pallets of bearer bonds and gold bars previously seized by corrupt judges as evidence. Their transponders show diplomatic clearance codes. By 7:55, confirmation arrives from field sites. Detainees in custody, no casualties, no resistance. Photographers document evidence tables. Local media run headlines about an unprecedented anti-corruption sweep. Commanders exchange brief congratulations. The sound in the operations center settles into low chatter. Analysts begin generating slides. A press liaison drafts language for a statement emphasizing coordination, success, and cross-border cooperation. The lead operator steps outside to smoke, watching dawn reflect off the Potomac. For the first time since 5 o'clock, the building feels still. At 8:10, satellite coverage from NOAA's observation grid shows 4 faint radar traces leaving Caribbean airspace. The objects are small, moving east at 300 knots, altitude 11,000 feet. Flight plans list them as courier transports returning to Europe. No alerts trigger. Data from these tracks is archived automatically. In Treasury's log, the reboot completes at 8:14. All financial locks show finalized. The system purges temporary files older than 1 hour, including pre-arrest transfer data. At 8:20, the Washington command team convenes for the formal brief. Large screens display totals: 28 arrests, assets frozen at just under $1 billion, 0 operator injuries. The operations director signs the result sheet. He notes minor data anomalies, but calls them statistical noise. Field teams receive extraction orders. Helicopters lift off from Panama and Veracruz, climb to 1,500 feet, and head for staging ships offshore. The engine's vibration rattles windows for several blocks. Civilians wave at the passing aircraft. At 8:27, as the Veracruz helicopters reach the destroyer, USS Stetham 60 nautical miles out, radar operators detect 4 small contacts crossing their flight path at 3,000 feet. Speed matches the courier transports detected earlier. Identification returns neutral. The officer on watch logs civilian traffic. The contacts pass without incident. No one knows they carry the last intact ledgers of cartel judicial payments and authentication keys for the frozen accounts. At 8:40, intelligence analysts replay the operation chronologically. They align arrest timestamps, transaction logs, and data seizure reports. Discrepancies widen instead of closing. A senior agent calculates that each major transfer predates the arrests by 9 minutes 40 seconds. The implication forms quietly, but no one speaks it. The system executed perfectly, but on a clock running slow. The operation froze only empty shells. The true assets were already gone. By 9 o'clock, the operations center finalizes its report. Coffee cups litter consoles. Exhausted analysts push chairs back and stretch. The big screens show stabilized metrics, all green. Outside, traffic builds along the George Washington Parkway. In Cartagena, cranes continue loading containers. 3 of them, now sealed aboard the Santa Lucia, contain hundreds of millions in cartel currency and documents marked as judicial exhibits. The ship departs at 9:06, heading northeast at 16 knots. At 9:20, a final debrief begins. Officers compare field reports with financial summaries. The shortfall remains. Commanders attribute it to delayed accounting from regional banks. They set follow-up for 24 hours. On the walls, a timeline graphic shows Operation Coral ending at 9 o'clock with full mission success. Below it, secondary text reads, "Financial verification pending." Nobody looks closely. At 9:35, the Treasury liaison contacts the operation director privately. A new alert has surfaced. 6 offshore shell companies registered within the last hour under the names of the detained judges. Each holds deposits matching the missing sums. Account creation timestamps align exactly with the start of the arrests. The liaison asks if to treat it as a false positive. The director pauses, watching the second hand of his watch tick forward. He answers, "Flag for review." By 9:45, operators begin dismantling the command setup. Monitors power down. The remaining personnel log off. Through glass walls, the Potomac shimmers under sunlight. The building temperature drops 2 degrees as air handling systems shift to idle. Somewhere deep in the Treasury network, automated transfers continue under redundant authorization. Each transfer uses biometric hashes of the arrested judges, already digitized before dawn. At 10 o'clock, the official statement releases worldwide. A coordinated multinational operation. 30 high-level arrests, assets frozen across 4 nations. News networks replay footage of armored convoys, helicopters, and seized cash. The public image shows precision and control. In reality, command is blind to the transactions still moving. In Panama, Espinosa sits in a holding cell at 22 degrees Celsius, head bowed, hands cuffed. He watches a small red light blink on the ceiling, a router indicator connected to an unmonitored network port. At 10:12, on board the Santa Lucia, container sensors register pressure changes as air conditioning activates. Temperature inside container 4C stabilizes at 18 degrees. Inside are ledgers, hard drives, and encryption keys for every transaction executed under the cartel's judicial network. The vessel maintains heading 037 degrees true, speed 16 knots, estimated arrival in the Azores in 6 days. The operation's success is now irreversible only in paperwork. By 10:30, the command floor is empty except for one technician closing logs. He verifies total data processed, 4.8 terabytes. He sees one irregularity, 40 gigabytes of transfer logs missing from the last hour. He notes the gap, but lacks clearance to access backups. The missing segment remains stored on an off-site mirror, scheduled for deletion at midnight. He shrugs, files the report, and powers down his console. At 10:45, the final helicopter from Veracruz lands on the Stetham. Engines idle at 60% for cooldown. The pilot checks fuel, 800 gallons remaining. The deck crew refuels for return transit. The sea surface is calm. 1 meter swells. Beyond the horizon, the Santa Lucia disappears from radar at range 120 nautical miles. By 11 o'clock, the operation is complete. Command records close, arrests documented, funds tallied. Nothing moves except the slow crawl of automatic backups. Inside those data archives, hidden among thousands of encrypted files, lies the proof of how the cartel predicted every move and acted first. No one in Washington, Panama, or Cartagena will open that directory before it expires. The screens are dark now. Servers hum in standby. Outside, sunlight strikes the river. The system believes it is won. The real network is already running somewhere else, invisible and unopposed.